Nostalgia is truly one of the great human weaknesses, second only to the neck.
In case you can't tell, I really love The Office. When the theme of this video started to emerge and I was thinking about my favorite quotes about nostalgia, the first to come to my mind was that classic from my favorite show. And I think it's fitting, considering I'm traveling to Victoria, a city that holds a lot of history and nostalgia for me.
Oh, that's freaky.
What? Oh my god.
I don't like that at all.
As you can see from the blue haze, the smoke from the wildfires is still strongly affecting the air quality in BC. It's been a tough wildfire season in Canada. In my area, we haven't been able to spend much time outside or even open our windows for sometimes weeks on end. I have so much empathy and compassion for the people whose homes and livelihoods were destroyed, as well as gratitude for the firefighters who risk their lives every year. All things considered, we were lucky once again this year in my community and narrowly avoided an evacuation alert. If you've watched my other travel videos from my recent trip to Europe, first of all, thank you, and I really appreciate you coming back. And secondly, I'm sure you've noticed that I like to begin these videos a bit more slowly than most travel videos, and I love to share aerial footage that I capture from the windows of airplanes. Even though I've flown on this exact route many times, the view never ceases to amaze and engage me. And although my videos aren't documentary quality footage, I hope I can share a little bit of the magic of this earth and of nature with you each week. As I mentioned in my last video, I've been working on cultivating a sense of wonder and awe in my daily life, and marveling at the coastal mountains from above while being filled with anticipation and excitement for my upcoming adventure certainly fits the bill. I live several hours away from the nearest airport, so by the time we landed in Vancouver at noon, we'd been traveling for 6 hours already. One SkyTrain and a couple buses later, we arrived at the ferry terminal. To me, this trip to Vancouver Island is about two seemingly contradictory things: revisiting my past and also trying new things. I'm going back to my old neighborhood, eating at my favorite restaurants, visiting my favorite bookstore, and also going whale watching for the first time, taking a surf lesson, and going to Tofino, Ucluelet, and Pacific Rim National Park, which I've wanted to visit for over a decade. And I didn't get a chance to do a lot of these things and visit these places while I lived on the island, so it'll be interesting to be a tourist in a city I used to call home. It was an overcast afternoon, not uncommon for the region, and the salty, humid air brought back many memories for me. I stayed on deck for as long as possible to enjoy the view, but I guess I'd forgotten just how cold the coastal wind can feel, even in the summer. The first day back in Victoria, as I rode the bus downtown and through old familiar neighborhoods, I was overcome by a deep sense of nostalgia, and I felt out of place. Other than a few businesses closing or relocating and buildings being torn down and replaced by new ones, to me Victoria feels the same as it was when I lived here, but I'm not the person I thought I'd be by now. All the people who used to be in my life have moved on, and so have I. It's weird to think about how many years have passed, how things have happened that I never expected, and I didn't realize how much I'd feel the same over the years. It's fascinating and frustrating how, in a breathtaking place like this, on my first day of vacation, my mind went back to its old conditioning of feeling unsatisfied with myself and my life. The thought goes something along the lines of, maybe if I were somewhere else, maybe if I were someone else than who I am right now, I would feel differently. These thoughts come from seemingly out of nowhere, and that's how easy it is to forget just how much you've grown and how far you've come. No matter where you go or what you do, if you still have that conditioning, you're still going to think and feel the same at the end of the day. I think it's great that the concepts of the inner child and inner child work are being popularized and widely accepted. Even as we're working on addressing our unmet needs by reparenting ourselves, I think it helps even just to normalize the fact that everyone, no matter how old they are or how much inner work they've done and self-help books they've read, will have times where they feel like it's their first day of school again, or their crush stood them up at the school dance, or like they should have figured out what they're doing with their life by now. But, as a family friend said to me recently, sometimes it's enough just to live. If you don't know what you're doing with your life, it means you haven't completely internalized someone else's idea of how you should live. A little bit of nostalgia is normal and can be nice, but it's important not to idealize the past or to contemplate what could have been as if there's any way for you to know for sure. While I'm taking this quote completely out of context, I'm reminded of the closing lines of Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, which I'll paraphrase to avoid spoiling the book. One character says to another, "We could have had such a good time together," and the other responds, "Yes. Isn't it pretty to think so?" People often find comfort in fantasy, and it is pretty to think that things could be different, better. But there is no alternative version, no director's cut of life where things would have been simple or easy. At times like these, I try to redirect my thoughts to thinking about what is right now, and what still could be in the future. And I remind myself that it's totally enough just to be. The second day started out really well and with a walk down memory lane. After picking up the rental car, we stopped by the market garden on our way out of the city, which was one of the main shooting locations for my short film, The Man on the Bus. It's honestly a hidden gem, and the store has so much character. It's always a wonderful treat to stop by, and if you're ever in Vic West, I highly recommend it. There was some serious road construction that prompted Google Maps to direct us towards Lake Cowichan. We didn't realize that it was an unpaved back road, and by then we'd started to encounter some serious car trouble and considered turning back. But a well-meaning mechanic took a look under the hood and told us that the car was fine and not to worry about it, but that we should turn back towards Duncan and go through the construction, which they opened up to alternating single-lane traffic for the long weekend. Long story short, the rental car broke down. But before I get into that, here's a map to illustrate how long the drive from Victoria to Ucluelet should have taken under normal conditions. It's around 4.5 hours and just under 300 kilometers. The little detour to Lake Cowichan should have set us back about half an hour. But in the end, it took over 7 hours with the construction and the vehicle that broke down just as we pulled into the JX campground parking lot. I feel so lucky that we at least made it to this parking lot in one piece. It could have honestly been so much worse. There was no service and almost no place to pull over as I drove down the windy road through the mountains. But here's the thing. This parking lot is neither in Ucluelet nor in Tofino. It's pretty much in the middle of nowhere at the junction of the Pacific Rim Highway and the Tofino-Ucluelet Highway. I was tired from driving all day, hungry and stressed. Ucluelet was only 8 kilometers away, which would have been a quick 10-minute drive, but instead we walked an hour and a half each way to the Ucluelet Brewing Company, which was the only place that was still open at that hour, although their kitchen was closed. So it was a much-needed flight of beer and leftover donuts for dinner. The JX campground had overnight parking for a small fee, so I slept in the back of the car, or at least attempted to. But I had to figure out how to get to my 9 a.m. surf lesson the next morning, all the way at the top left of the map there, 27 kilometers away. But I'll tell you all about that in the next video. Life is certainly a big adventure. Thank you for joining me on mine, and I'll see you next week.